Welcome back to Cards and Comics, guys. Today I have another mail day, and most likely the last mail day of 2024. Now, it's not going to be the typical Griffey heavy, but there's some cool cards, and there's a Griffey in here. But it's just going to be kind of, winding down the year, and I do have some really cool, pretty rare insert sets that I purchased in auction from the 90s coming in. I think you really like those cards because there are some of the coolest and hardest to get inserts of the 90s coming to me pretty soon in the mail. Now, as far as today, I have a mail day that's going to showcase one vintage card and a little bit of football and a lot of 90s baseball. So, and kind of a mystery card too. So we'll get into that. First up is I've been putting together my Pirates, Stargell, Clemente, Mazeroski sets. I'm pretty much done with the Topps cards. Now I'm getting into the Venezuelans, the O-Pee-Chees. And so I saw this card just hanging out, and it looked good, and I bought it, and it's a raw card. It's a 73 O-Pee-Chee Willie Stargell. And the first thing I noticed about it was it's well-centered. And so I'm like, okay, well, it's raw. I can grab it, maybe, have it as a placeholder until I get, maybe a graded copy. But then I started looking at it, I'm like, man, this thing is really nice. Corners are nice. It's well centered. It has the O-Pee-Chee rough cut. The back is nice. You can see printed in Canada right there. Nice rough cuts all around. And I thought to myself, well, why? I might just send this in to get graded. If it comes back a 7, I'm still happy. I'll put it in my set. These cards are hard to find graded in terms of like centering. Hard to find these cards centered well. So, hey, take a shot. And again, I got a lot of cards I need to get graded. I've been working on, putting together a whole order, for both PSA and SGC for about, I say like the last 3 months, and, if you look at where, my pile here, I've got this giant pile of cards here that, I want to get graded, eventually, and you can see there's a combination of just different cards and players and some really cool stuff in here, and love to get it graded. Love to, showcase some of this stuff, and in a future video is graded. Right here, that's a really cool Griffey card, numbered out of 100, refractor. So earlier in the haul. So I got some really amazing cards that I want to get graded. I'm just a little nervous with PSA. I just don't know what they're looking for anymore. And so I'm just a little nervous. But eventually I need to get some of the stuff graded just to get in holders. Just so I can, sell it or trade it for some of it. So, we'll see what happens, but I definitely will take some time during the holidays to sort, prep, and send some cards out. Definitely some cards are going to go to SGC. Some will probably go to PSA. But I will enjoy some time off to do some of that sorting and recover from the cold I've had, and just have time to kind of enjoy my cards. And, I got cards hanging out here that, I just love. This card here is one of my favorite, Griffey cards, and I'd love to see what it would grade. But, it's like a card that, is I hate to see it come back in 8 as well. So, a really cool Peyton Manning card there. So just a lot of cool cards. I got this Griffey auto I need to get graded, the Ionic. So we'll see what happens, and I'll keep you guys updated. Moving on to football. I've got a few cool Reggie White cards here. First up is just a card I want to showcase because it's just a cool card. It's not special. It's not, overly rare. It's the 96 Extreme Team from Playoff. But I just want to showcase that, people had cool cards back in the 90s. This is a gold foil acetate card with hollow foil on it. And so it's like this card has a ton of technology in it, and it is one of those cards that like is super cheap. It's like a $5 card. And if it was die cut, that would be like the last thing you could do to it to make it even cooler. And so when I look at today's cards and today's technology, I'm like, we haven't moved that far. This card is just as, there's a lot of cards today that don't look this cool. I'll just put it that way. There's not a lot of cards today that have this much technology in it. And I see a lot of cards with just foil or a die cut, and that's it. And it just feels like, even back in 1996, we had cards like this kind of throwaway insert set that had tons more thought put into the design and coolness factor. And I think this card's a lot cooler than a lot of modern cards. And it was $5. Same way for this card. Love the Epic set. Just love this set. And this is a purple game. So again, there's all kinds of thoughts on print runs for these cards. But, I would just put it this way, is that there's not thousands of these cards out there. There's for some versions of the card, game, season, moment, depending on what set they was inserted in. Some are rarer than others. But in general, even purples and emeralds are tough to find. They're not, and they're really condition sensitive. This one's got a little tick here on the corner. I had an emerald graded in my last order from ComC. So again, and I just love, how shiny they are, and just cool cards. So there you go. Epic's game, Reggie White. And then the big card, one of the bigger cards I picked up this time around, it's Barry Sanders. It's from 99 Ionics, and this is a holographics. So what this card set really is these were, I think, 1 in 244. These holographics, so they're just really, really tough. It's a PSA 9, so it's a good grade. Now, so it's an insert. It's H7. It's not a parallel. So a lot of people get this, and in fact, I've gotten these sets wrong, because you've got Cyber and all kinds of versions of cards from the set. These are inserts. These are not parallels. And so the holographics is a standalone insert set. You can kind of see how shiny and kind of cool it is. And so it's an insert set from this set. They're really rare. Now, the thing that's weird about it is that 2 9s and a raw card sold within the last 3 months. So it's interesting that Barry Sanders had so many versions sell, when I think like one had sold like in like 1 or 2 years prior. So to have 3 come up in like the last couple months is pretty interesting. I think it just shows like, if you're patient, cards sometimes they'll pop up. So I use that as a kind of like mental note for myself, is like, sometimes you won't see a card that you really want for 2 or 3 years. Then all of a sudden 3 will pop up. So just be patient, guys. Sometimes cards will come up when you least expect them. And this is one of those cards. And I love this set. I want the Griffey so bad in this set, the baseball set. So yeah, and a lot of people in the know, like, that love kind of like more oddball 90s stuff. That's a card that a lot of people love. Okay, moving on to football. Here's some pretty rare cards. And this one is a mystery, guys. So let's talk about this card, because, when I bought it, for some reason, the bells didn't go off on my head that there was something off about this card, but it's very obvious for people who know the set. I don't know why. I posted on Instagram, and people were just like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with that card?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. It's not what it should look like." And it's a 97 finest gold embossed. Now, this isn't a backdoor card that hasn't got the die cut. This is one that is got the wrong die cut. So this is weird, and I'm just going to admit it. It's weird. This is the right refractor pattern. It is embossed. So I'm going to show you on the back. It is embossed. A lot of times when you see these cards that have been backdoored from this set, they have this diffractor pattern, but generally they're not die cut. and they're not embossed. They are basically sheet cut cards that either happened prior to embossing and die cutting, or they were test sheets that were made, maybe just to check out the diffractor pattern or whatever. But it's pretty well documented that those cards, and you'll see them on eBay, there's cards on COMC of a card that has, a gold card with that diffractor pattern with no die cut and no embossing. And a lot of people will call them like gold, gold, diffractors or whatever. And those were not pack pulled. Those were backdoored from Topps. But again, this card has a die cut and it has embossing. So it would be very difficult for me to believe that someone could take let's say that diffractor sheet, that was non-die cut, non-embossed, emboss it somehow, and you get that, embossing, and then die cut it with the wrong die cut, because this is not the right die cut. Remember, 97 Finest should have kind of like that postage stamp, sawtooth looking, on all four corners, right? Football had this die cut. Football had this kind of like, intricate die cut. This is something that, and I have some football cards with this die cut. So what happened? Here's my thought, because again, I know some people will say, well, this is a fake card. Someone created this from scratch. I don't think anyone it's a Matt Williams card. Let's start there. It's Matt Williams. Even in 97, Matt Williams wasn't important enough to probably fake a card. 2, who's going to have access to embossing in this intricate die cut pattern? And it's the wrong pattern. So if you're going to fake the die cut, why would you, or create a fake card? Why would you use a die cut pattern from the football set? Makes no sense. What I think happened is this. Topps, again, was experimenting with certain die cuts, certain, things. And this was probably, again, another backdoor card from the factory of just test cards, test things they were playing with. And somehow it got out. So it was probably never meant to be put in a pack. Probably wasn't pack pulled, if I was going to guess. But it was just, they probably had some different die cuts they were playing with. And this card got, die cut with the die cut they ended up using for the football set. It could have been made, after, the baseball set was created. It's just a test card. Regardless, because it has it on front and back, again, both the patterns. So I think, again, it's a legitimate card from 97 that was probably a factory, like a test card, something that they were playing around with. Somehow got on the market, probably backdoored when all the other cards are backdoored. And it's just a cool card. It's kind of a weird card. It shouldn't exist. And it's out there. So I don't know how many of these kind of cards got out there. I don't know how many players have cards like this that are out there. But it's just cool and unique. And it's fun when these kind of cards pop up. Now, is it worth a ton of money? No, not worth a ton of money, because again, it's Matt Williams. Maybe to someone who wants just all these kind of oddball stuff, huge Matt Williams fan, they might pay a little bit for it. But I'm just going to say, if it was Griffey and you could convince someone it wasn't, I would have a harder time if it was Griffey, just because it would be more incentive to create something like this. Being Matt Williams, I just don't feel it's fake. I just think Topps is just messing around, and this kind of got backdoored, and now it's out, and hey, it's kind of cool. So there you go. Let me know what you think it is. Do you really think that this is a fake card? Do you really think that someone put a lot of effort to create a actual embossed die cut Matt Williams with the wrong die cut? Just really interesting. Next up is another card from another set that, again, is just really hard to find. I just, this is one of those sets that in the wild, I just don't ever see them. So I just think they're really rare to get. And I think that someone was telling me like, like they think that these print runs are below 50 cards. I don't know for sure, but they're pretty rare because I don't ever see these cards in the wild. And this is Leaf Limited Star Factors, the limited exposures. So they look like refractors, right? So the Star Factors were cool because they were double-sided. So you got always this kind of like, batting pose, and then you got the fielding, or in this case, running pose. And for the most part, I think you can tell legitimate ones because I do think there were some, again, probably some sheet cut versions of these cards. Again, it's hard with the 90s because there's so much stuff going on that, were cards that were released after the sets were issued, bankruptcy, sales, all this other stuff. But in general, the cards I do believe that were pulled in packs were horribly off center. So you can see this card basically is 90-10, 80-20, whatever you want to call it, 85-15. It's not centered top to bottom at all. Left to right, it's okay, but top to bottom, it's way off center. And this is very common. If you look at cards that are in the marketplace for these, for this set, this is what you normally see. And you can almost see right here the Star Factor, and you'll see it says limited exposure right there. So I don't know how many of these truly are out there. I wanted to have one, again, kind of as a type collector. I just wanted to have one card. I was hoping to get Ivan Rodriguez, but I ended up getting the Gary Sheffield. Obviously, the Griffey, the Frank Thomas, those are some really, Derek Jeter would be amazing cards to pick up. I would love to have one of those 3 cards. Just because I know how rare they are. They just never come up. And I feel like it's one of those cards that I think they look better than a lot of later year refractors, like 98 refractors. I would take this over like the 98 refractors from Topps. So they are a really nice looking card. So I give them that. And it's a nice looking card. It's super rare. And again, there's a lot of mystery to him because I've seen some centered ones, but vast majority are way off center. So again, one of those just really rare cards from the 90s that people just kind of forget about and don't really talk about too much. But if a Griffey ever showed up, could you imagine? I mean, I think a PSA 10 Griffey in this card, if one existed, would bring in a lot of money because there's a lot of collectors out there who want that card. Next up, going back to the 97 set. So here is a silver embossed. We got, John Franco. Again, I just love the superfractor design. You got both sides and you can see the embossing right there. So again, I just love picking these cards up when I can. Another card for my 98 Crusade set. Got Kevin Brown. I'm putting together the green set. Love this set. Numbered at 250. So awesome card. My one Frank Thomas card. I've got the Pinnacle Performers. I believe this is 98. Yep, 98 Pinnacle Performers Artist Proof. Now, this cool about this card is just how cool and shiny it is. There's a gold version of this card, numbered out of 100. There's a 101 of this card, which I've never seen one before, but one was posted recently on Instagram. And I was like, wow, that is, I think it was like, was it Manny Ramirez or Andrew Jones? It was one of those guys. But anyway, just to see a 101, that's crazy. So this set had the regular artist proof, a gold, and then it had a 101, and I think that's really awesome. So pretty rare to find non-printing plate 101s in the 90s. So that's really cool. Pinnacle Performers as a set isn't that exciting, but these artist proofs were really cool. So you can see the back. And the golds look really amazing too. My one Griffey card, again, I talked about, how much I love the Epic set. So here is the Play Purple Griffey. So I want to get, all the different sets, the the play, the game, the season, the moment, the all-star moments. So I want to get all of the 3 different colors from all the different sets. So we'll see. They're tough. I'm slowly putting them together. I think all the games. Now I have most of the play set. I think I may need the play emerald. So I'm slowly going to put that set together. It's easier up until the moments, but the moment Griffies all are from the 98 certified set, which is just a ghost. So those are going to be really tough to pull. Even the season cards are tough because they're from Xena. So I have only one of those season cards and none of the moments. So, but the other ones I'm getting close to having those done. So the play Purple Griffey. And the last 2 cards here are just kind of fun cards from 96 Finest. Picked them up in an auction. First up is a gold Jay Buhner. Again, original 96 Finest gold card. PSA 8. And the one that was really cool and the reason why I bought the lot was to get the Tony Gwynn. And at PSA 9, I just love these cards. I opened a lot of this back when I was a kid. I put together the base gold set as a kid from Series 1. That was like one of the funnest things I ever did with my dad, collecting modern cards. So just love this set. So there you go. That is the mail day. Hope you enjoyed it. And, as you journey into the 90s cards, you run up against some mystery cards all the time. And that's what's fun about it. This card here is just, interesting to me. This card here is just like one of those cards that people don't talk too much about, but is super duper rare. So that's why I love the 90s. It's like you can learn. New cards pop up all the time you've never seen. It's awesome. A lot of fun. So let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.